Welcome everybody, this is Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Community Call. It is October 8th, 2024. Me and Bert are calling in from Seattle. It's good to have the option to drop by at the office every now and then. It will be a busy day, but of course we're not going to miss the community calls because that's the priority number one for us as well. Now, my name is Esa Juvonen. I'm a Principal Product Manager in Microsoft 365 platform areas and working closely with other organizations on helping you to get started within the Microsoft Cloud. And today's agenda, we're going to go through a typical set of assets. We do that intentionally because it's important that we have the getting started assets for all of the new people who are joining on the calls as well. We always have new people joining, so it's important that we are recapping and the assets which are available. And then we'll go quickly through what are the latest news around the Microsoft blogs. There wasn't that many news within the last week, but it's also good to see what has happened. And then we go to the actual stars of the day, who will be today, Sébastien Levert. So getting started with the declarative agents in Microsoft 365 Copilot, and then Marc Windle with the SharePoint embedded monthly booking. So I didn't update that title. I know that Marc is focusing on a specific other area, so will be good. Now, let's actually get moving on the assets. So a few URLs and important assets to be aware. First of all of the community call recordings will be available at AKMS Community YouTube. We are publishing a lot of assets over there. For example, all of the different webinars and demos and community call recordings will be published over there. You cannot access the recording from the chat after the call, but if you go to the AKMS Community YouTube, within 24 hours, the recording will be available. The LinkedIn page and the group are there for you to get access on the latest discussions and also latest announcements that are happening within the community side. There's a lot of open source assets which are available, but as it might be a bit difficult to get started with or finding the relevant GitHub asset for you because there's so many GitHub repos in those organizations, we have those sample galleries available. AKMS Community Samples is the primary gallery and then additional galleries on top of that, making it super easy to find the relevant GitHub sample for you provided by the community or by Microsoft employees. A lot of URLs, everything behind of the one URL, which is AKMS Community Home, one location to access all of the calls and details and everything else. Now, we do have quite a lot of these community calls. Every single Tuesday, we have this 8 a.m. Tuesday community call with Power Platform and Microsoft 365, weekly with Microsoft speakers. There's a lot of discussions behind of the scenes now on multiple people booking really cool demos within upcoming weeks. We'll look super excited to watch those live with you all from community side. On top of that, we have the Power Platform monthly community call, which is primarily community presenters, then Office Add-ins monthly community call, which is primarily Microsoft presenters, and then our 7 a.m. Thursday Pacific time series, which is either the Microsoft 365 Power Platform community or Viva Connection SharePoint Framework community calls, and those are both for community presenters. So there's a lot of cool demos again scheduled for this week, where we have the Microsoft 365 Power Platform community call on Thursday with community demos. Today, Microsoft demos, Thursday, community demos. Now, I said that community can present. We do welcome every one of you to actually present on these calls. Really easy to sign up as going AKMS Community Request Demo. Based on what you're submitting, we are then putting you on the right call and setting and scheduling that for you. If you're not kind of a super familiar or feel really comfortable on doing these calls, we can actually help you with that as well. And for example, David always helps on making sure that people feel comfortable on doing these calls live as well. So if you're looking into, for example, getting renamed as an MVP or getting to an MVP or practice your community presentation skills or whatever, AKMS Community Request Demo, great way of getting started on that. Now, we do have a lot of assets to get started on the Microsoft Cloud for both Microsoft 365 and Power Platform. A lot of free assets at the learn.microsoft.com and a lot of other topics as well. So there's so many modules, so many learning paths which are available for you to get started. Please take advantage of those. Now, we do have also on Microsoft 365 Power Platform shows. The PMP Weekly show has unfortunately discontinued starting from the mid-September. We're looking into restarting something a bit different together with Waldek pretty soon. That brainstorming is ongoing, and we have a pretty good plan on that. Now, on top of that, there's the Mondays at Microsoft, which is unfortunately happening right now, actually, on Tuesday morning due to unknown reasons. I'm not quite familiar what happened there, but Carlo Joanna and Heather are doing that as well. That is a great show, also catching up on a recording site if you are in Discord to stay up to date on the latest news. And then we have the Microsoft 365 Developer Podcast, which was a bit active on the summertime. I think there are plans to actually do more stuff on there in the future as well. So please stay up to date on what's happening. Now, we do have also a lot of samples available for you to get started. So I think we are more than 2,100 samples right now from Microsoft and community. And this is one location at the AKMS community samples where we are surfacing all of the samples across the different GitHub repos. You might know that there's like hundreds and hundreds of repositories in the GitHub where we have samples, and it might be really difficult for you to find the relevant sample based on your use case. So using this location, you can easily search, you can easily filter based on products, making it super easy to find the relevant sample for you. Now, when you find the sample from GitHub, you might be wondering, oh, I don't know how to get started, or you want to share your sample, and you might be wondering, how would I actually do that? And that's why we have Sharing is Caring coming live from LA. So David is explaining what is Sharing is Caring all about.
Yes, thank you, Vesa. We are in the same time zone once in a great while. We could say good morning, and it's accurate for one another. So good morning, Vesa. Yes, thank you. What is Sharing is Caring, folks? Well, it is your gateway to the contribution world of community. That means we are going to work together in live sessions on team calls where you can contribute your contributions, things like samples. If you're selling, we're buying. Figuratively, of course, we're not going to actually pay you money, but you're going to get warmth back in all those hugs from the community. So it's going to walk you through. It's safe space, which means it's not recorded. You can ask any and all questions you'd like. No fear of it going on record because you think, well, should I already know the answer to this question? Does everybody? No one else is asking it. It's okay. We all learn from somewhere, and you're welcome to ask any and all questions. We're going to learn together. And guess what? It is absolutely free. Absolutely free. We're going to work through it together. You're going to understand what GitHub is, how to use those samples, how to contribute to those samples, and it's going to be a great time. We're setting it up for late October, so be on the lookout. We will get that scheduled. We just had one last week, and we're going to get that another one set up in October. Now, once you do contribute, we absolutely also want to recognize you for all the work that you're doing, and that is where our recognition program comes in. And so we are partnering with Credly on the next slide there, and we will... Yeah, no problem. Getting ready for the together mode. I got you.
Exactly.
All right. Yes. And so we got all these. We know each other so well. We got all those badges that are absolutely free as well. All we need you to do is opt in ak.ms/community/recognition. And as you see all those new badges flying in, SPFX Toolkit, Refresh Rangers, that's going to be an ongoing thing, folks. It's right now for the web parts and extensions of SPFX, but we're going to move it into other things like list formatting and Power Platform samples. And of course, right in the rear view is Promptember, but right now, Promptober and Hacktoberfest. So get those contributions in. We want to recognize you. You have something to add, Vesa?
No, please continue.
All right, yes. And again, absolutely free. Opt in, ak.ms/community/recognition. Just need to do that once, and we will track all the amazing work that you're doing. And thank you all. We love you for what you're doing. Keep up the great work. Got more badges coming out soon as we get into the end of the year. Keep doing what you're doing. Vesa, back to you in... Oh, wait, Redmond.
There we go. Excellent. You remember, not in Helsinki, Finland. It's in Redmond, Washington, USA. So cool to be in the same time zone. Thank you, David, for that one. Now, quickly recapping all of the different events which are happening within upcoming months or within next 6 months. So first of all, TechCon 365 was renamed from EduCon 365. If you're not familiar with that one, techcon365.com is the URL, and Dallas is happening in November 11th to 15th, which is pretty soon. So that's actually quite soon at Dallas. Great opportunity of catching up with the community as well. On top of that, we have the ignite.microsoft.com happening in November 19th to 22nd. The in-person experience has been sold out already within Chicago, but this is also an online event. So you can freely join Microsoft, freely go to ignite.microsoft.com and register, and you're able to join for most of the sessions within Ignite as well. Then we also have the European SharePoint Conference happening in 2nd to 5th of December 2024 at Stockholm. So that's going to be a great event as well. Looking forward to seeing some of you definitely there. I'll be there as well. And then on top of that, in the next spring, in May, we have 26 to 28, we have the ECS, the European Collaboration Summit, happening, which is this time at 3 different conferences combined together. So there's the European Collaboration Summit, European AI and Cloud Summit, and European Biz App Summit happening all at the same time. So it's kind of a merged, great event, which you don't want to miss if you are on that side of the pond. Now, on top of that, there's a lot of events which you can check from communitydays.org in September, October, December, November. There's a lot of events all around the world, different kind of events. Some of them are free, some of them have a small cost associated to them, some of them are remote. But please feel free to check out if you want to meet any other community members. Great opportunities which you don't want to miss. Now, a quick recap on the weekly news. Not that many news this week. It was a relatively quick to collect them. I know David is, thank you for pasting in all of the URLs in the chat to make it easy for you to stay up to date on what's happening in the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform side. It's kind of a weekly summary on collecting all of the blog posts from Microsoft 365 and Power Platform to one centralized location, so you can easily access all of those URLs. Not going to deep dive for any of the announcements there. Now, we also have our Community Prompts initiative, which is a great initiative run by Rabia Williams. Rabia is collecting different kind of Copilot prompts, which you can then test within the Microsoft Copilot or Microsoft 365 Copilot, and so understand the value that Copilot can actually provide. And prompt of the week this week is coming from Ezekiel Ibagnu. Sorry for the pronunciation, but it's a really good example of things what you can do within the Copilot, create a detailed agenda for upcoming team meetings and blah, blah, blah. This meeting will be focused and so on. So basically ask the Copilot to give you meeting agenda items. Now, the idea is not that you're taking necessarily the output immediately as such, but it gives you ideas and suggestions and brainstorming. And it's like, oh, that's a great idea. I didn't thought about that bullet point in the agenda. Let's actually include that one. And then you have all of the different things within your agenda. Now, then before we go to the actual stars of the day, which will be Seb and Mark, let's do a quick proof photo. Let's see how we can actually make this work today. So let me flip the view on together mode. And I should be able to then move this in here, but can I? Oh, that looks horrifying. Okay, not like that. That's a Teamception. Do I need to? I cannot actually do this. David, do you want to help me?
Yes, I could do that.
I'm realizing that the Teams meeting automation setup is blocking me to do this properly. So.
Oh, yes. So let me share my screen, and everybody should.
I know that you're always ready to go with the Camtasia. There we go. That looks pretty and awesome.
Do you want to go ahead and capture it in Camtasia?
Yes, let me actually do that. I'm just double checking that I'm capturing the right screen. 1 second, not that one. The second screen. And it's not capturing that. You should be capturing that as well. I do apologize, David.
Okay, yep, no problem.
It's the Teams automation which is causing interesting challenges.
Yep, we'll blame it on Todd. Okay. Todd's always good for taking the blame on things. He's good to go. Let me get this going. Sorry, folks, just a second. You will. I feel like maybe we should.
This is always what happens when you're traveling and you're in a different setup than back in home. Now it started loading things. Okay, here we go. Excellent. Getting close. Yes, we're super close. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Now we're recording. Let's do some hand waving. We'll capture a GIF animation out of this. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Really cool to have you on the call. The Teams meeting automation isn't that familiar with this concept, so we need to teach the Teams meeting setup still to do how to do together mode pictures. But we'll capture that and we'll share that in the social media. And it actually captured my sharing automatically, right? You can see my screen, David.
Nope. No, we can't.
Interesting. So the meeting automation didn't then do that properly, but let's actually do then that one. And there we go. Now you should be able to see my screen.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you for confirming. Now, let's then go to the following slide and just to quickly recap on what's happening today. So we will have two demos. Seb is here to talk about getting started on declarative agents in Microsoft 365 Copilot, and then Marc Windle is on the call as well. I think, Seb, you're on the call, right?
I am.
Excellent.
Well, let's go. Let's give it a shot. Let me start and share my screen.
Yep. And we can see the screen. Everything is good. Take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Will. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I am really excited to come to you today. I am here to complete the loop. We came a couple weeks or even months ago to show the preview of back then declarative copilots that we are integrating with Visual Studio Code and Teams Toolkit and so on and so forth. So I came a couple months ago and we showcased the experience. Today, what is really cool is I'm coming back to announce that all these things have been rolling out and are still rolling out up to this day into Copilot tenants. But if you are a Copilot customer, you might have started to see our agent panel now here, right here on the right, where you can create agents, get Copilot agents, and see the agents that you have been building. We have been rebranding some of the things. So now if you are used to custom copilots or declarative copilots or custom engine copilots, all of that are now agents, so declarative agents, custom engine agents, and not custom agents. We don't do that anymore. But everything is now available. So what I want to show today is really the new experience that we have building declarative agents using Teams Toolkit for anything that wants to build this as a pro code experience, but you also have the option to do it as a low code experience. So I'll quickly show you what the low code experience looks like, what you can actually do, but then I'm going to transition quite rapidly to the pro code experience to make sure that you can see both sides of the fence based on what you really want to build in your organization. So let's start. Let me zoom in maybe a little bit more so you can see it a little bit better. So now on the right-hand side in Copilot, you have the option to either expand or collapse this bar here, where you will find a Create Agents button. And when you create the agent, you will have this experience. This experience will bring you to build a declarative agent directly inside BizChat. Inside BizChat, that is the Copilot app. And you can just start by saying, I want to create an agent that is an expert at talking like a pirate. And based on the conversation you're going to have with what we call agent builder, or this experience to build the agent, and this is how great this is, right? Something went wrong. Something is I'm on a what we call dog fooding tenants here, so it might be something happening with this, but I'll just try again. I want to build an agent that is an expert at talking like a pirate, and we'll see if that actually goes through. And if it doesn't go through, we're just going to revert back to our Teams Toolkit experience. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time in here, but I want to show that it's possible. Well, it looks like this is not going to happen today. I'm sorry, folks. It used to work earlier today. We did our demos and everything was working. So I'm sorry for that. But the point here is that now you will get the ability to create these agents directly from within the experience. Anybody in your organization, this is all governed. You can decide who can create what, but you can always create agents directly from this UI. So you will be able to really bring the agent model to everybody in your organization. If you're more of a pro code, type of person where you really want to control a little bit more the experience and you want to live inside Visual Studio Code, well, let me bring you to Teams Toolkit. I'm already here in VS Code. I have Teams Toolkit open on a brand new project. And here on the left, I'm going to have different options. I want to see the docs. I want to see the how-to guides, but I also want to see the create a new app. Now, create a new app will be what will launch the initial scaffolding of a new declarative agent project. So first, you're going to want to select the Copilot agent capability, where you're going to be able to select that you want to create a declarative agent. Do you want to add or you don't want to add a plugin? Plugins are ways to access external systems in real time. So think about it as a way to access an API that you have available somewhere and that you want to make it available to the agent you're building to ensure that it can call in real time that API. A scenario for this, and that's a scenario we're going to use today, is I have a repairs organization. My organization is all centered around our field team that goes in to customers and fix things, a bunch of different things. Well, in that case, I want to be able to get the list of the latest repairs and their statuses. We want to have it in real time, so you're never using any cached data, anything that might have been stored in some intermediate place. No, you want to connect to your database right away, and that's how you're going to do it, by adding a new plugin. So that's what I'm going to do today here. I'm going to add a plugin inside my agent. Either you don't have an API, so you might want to create that API. You know that you have a database, but you don't have something that makes this API data or that database data available to the end users. Or maybe you already have an API that's already described as an open API document, and you might just want to use it. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to start with an open API description document. Here, that either I have it already local on my machine where I can browse a path to get an open API file, either as a JSON, as a YAML file, or I can also search. So here, I can just click on search, and now you are in a capability where you can search for any API that lives on a public store. We are indexing a ton of open APIs that are available out there that get you access to either your internal systems when you're logged into your GitHub Enterprise account, for example, or anything that might be public. Let's think about a weather API, or maybe a stock exchange API. In our case, I know that the repairs API that I'm looking for is available on that public repository. So here I'm just going to search for repairs. I'm going to see a list of different APIs. And the first one is this one, which is the Samples Repair Hub API. And I'm just going to hit select here. What's going to happen is I'm going to be presented with all the different capabilities of this API. This API is a simple API. It has one endpoint and 4 different HTTP methods. These HTTP methods are basically the capabilities of that API. Either I can get the APIs, I can delete, I get the repairs, I can delete a repair, I can patch or update a repair, or I can post, I can add a new repair. In my case, I really care about getting and creating new repairs. That will give me 2 scenarios. First, as a maintenance worker, I can check what are the different repairs that are assigned to me. Second, I can post, meaning that I can create. So while I'm on site and I find another repair that needs to be fixed, but I don't have time right now, I will be able to create just a very simple record as part of my Copilot app, and I will be able to add that automatically. Once I'm done, once I selected everything, I can just hit generate. I'm going to be able to say I want to have it in my Teams app folders. I'm going to call it Contoso onboarding 3, just for the sake of it. And now I just created what I like to say is the most simple app that you've ever created. It took you 2 minutes to get started, a couple of choices, selecting your API. And from there, we created basically everything for you. What did we create? Well, first, we created a Teams app. That Teams app is just a regular Teams app built using Teams Toolkit. We're leveraging the Teams Toolkit manifest or the Teams manifest with everything it requires. Developer info, icons, the name, a description. Close these things as they show up. Some colors. And here, something really important, Copilot extensions and declarative copilots. These are the elements that will let that Teams app know that we have a declarative agent in this app. And this declarative agent is at this file path. It is linking to a declarative agent.json. Well, let's go and take a look at the declarative agent.json file that got created. It's actually pretty simple. We have just this. It is a schema, a version, a simple name. I'm going to call it Contoso onboarding agent just to make it pretty. The description here, it's a declarative agent that is an expert at repairs. That's going to be helpful when you're going to search for your declarative agent in the Team store, for instance. Then I have my instructions. We're going to come back to that. And I have my actions. My actions are the actions that it can take in real time to my remote APIs. Also here, we have a reference to that AI plugin.json. So let's have a look at this file that just got created. If I go here, I look at this file. Here, there's a lot that got generated. So first, it generated these two things. It generated the conversation starters. So I'll be able to say list all repairs, create a new repair. So these will be ways to engage with the end user by letting them know that, hey, by the way, these things are possible in that agent. So you will be able to start with existing starters. And then here, I'm basically saying what is available. What are the capabilities? First, I can do a create repair. I can do a list repairs. This is automatically hooked into the Open API file that got created. We're going to come back later to this, but it just created an Open API file for us. In the list repairs, I have the option here to say, this is the description, and you can really improve the description. You need to think about the fact that you're building AI solutions. By having more and more relevant descriptions, you're going to help our systems to understand what you really want the user to do with it. So when the user asks a question that is not directly related to your API, maybe we're still going to understand it because the description is so rich that we're able to semantically match it to this function. And afterward, we can define, and that was automatically generated, we can define an adaptive card. So when the results from the API are coming back, we will automatically snap an adaptive card on top of it to make it look really pretty, to make it look even more reliable, more useful for the end user that is using the Copilot agent. So that's the adaptive card here. And at the end, we have the runtimes. And the runtimes here, it means we have different types of runtime, one being an Open API runtime, the very specific URL. That's the file that we're using that defines all the things of the API. What's in there? The parameter name. Are they required? What are the descriptions of these parameters? So that way, Copilot, when it tries to call the API, it will make sense of that Open API file, will automatically bring it in the context. We'll try to match what the user says, we'll match the intent to what exactly the user says, and then we'll call the API based on that. You're going to see here that the auth is currently set to none. Today, we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about authentication. But next week, Bob German will actually continue this demo to make it way more interesting and way more useful to go through the trade research demo that we've been doing. And this will be secured, meaning that you will be able to really have the full end-to-end experience that keeps your data secured across Copilot and your API. So that's the only thing I need to do here. I have my agent. It's calling an API. My API was generated automatically. We have other couple things that we can do here. We have different capabilities inside a Copilot agent. A Copilot agent can have different capabilities. The first one is it can enable web search, meaning that when you're going to ask questions to the agent, you will be able to say, by the way, extend the results, not just to the LLM memory that exists, but also to the web. You're also going to be able to say something like, I want to be able to have graph connectors. So if you're building graph connectors, and a really cool news that came up in the last couple of weeks, where we're now expanding the number of items of graph connectors to 50 million per tenant, you will be able to really ingest a lot of that data, and you'll be able to specifically say that you are interested in a single connection. So you're going to be really be able, for instance, to ground your agent in a very specific niche of your tenant. It's the expert at the Contoso connector. It's the expert in your ITSM system. It's the expert in your ADO work items. With this, you're really going to simplify the life of the users that are building on top of the platform. Finally, you'll be able to bring OneDrive and SharePoint content. So that OneDrive and SharePoint content will automatically help you ground the agent on a specific site, folder, or even file that you think is relevant in this context, and it will use semantic search to ensure that the query from the user is translated into semantic searching, that we're going to bring back the results back to you. So for doing that, you'll be able to say, either you want to do it by SharePoint IDs, maybe you already have the SharePoint IDs that you want to use here, or by a URL. And here you would be able to say something like contoso.sharepoint.com/site/onboarding/ that case, maybe not super useful to go to the all items at ASPX, but you would be able to do it with a shared documents library, for instance. So that way, now, in this very specific case, my declarative agent is now grounded on the web, so anything will actually be able to go out and search for web resources around the topic that I'm searching for, that I'm asking for. Inside the graph connectors, in OneDrive and SharePoint, but also we'll be able to reach out to perform certain actions that we really care about in this case, which is to get a list of repairs, but also to get a list, to be able to create repairs. So let me remove the capabilities for now, and let me deploy this. Before I deploy, actually, I want to show you the instructions. The instructions is really where a lot of the magic can happen. So for instance, I have an instructions file here. And this instructions file, let me just wrap it so it's easier for everybody. Come on, you can do it. You will be able here to really, with natural language, you will be able to ground your agent in a little bit more context. So you could do something. You are an expert at answering repairs question. You will never answer anything else. Always refer to your expertise. So in this case, it means that when the user will ask for something, it's not going to go try to do. If you ask about, I don't know, the best recipe for something, it's going to say, I'm not an expert at that. Please come back to asking questions about repair. So it's going to be a way to guide your agent pretty rapidly. And you will be able to also add really complex instructions here. You have 8,000 characters worth of complex instructions that you can use here. Like, take that to your advantage. Make sure that you are building a set of instructions that makes a lot of sense for the agent, especially when you start building more complex scenarios around agents. For now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to leave it at you're an expert at answering. And here, what I like about instructions is that it doesn't really care about typos. It's going to figure it out anyways, but still, I'm going to make it that way. So how you do that? You go to your extensions here, not extensions, sorry for that. You go to the lifecycle panel and you just hit provision. And as the provision will happen, your Copilot agent will be fully available on the other side. So let me do the provisioning here. And I'll just, as soon as we hit the 5 out of 5, you will be able to go here. I'm going to do that right now. Just going to go here and I'm going to refresh. And now you will find our Contoso onboarding agent available right here. And I can actually pin it so it's going to always be on top because that's one of my favorite declarative agent, right? So now I can just click on this and start the conversation. Well, I can just say, list all the repairs and format them as a table, including the title, the description, and the person assigned. And now what it's going to do, it's going to detect. Oh, you asked me to list all the repairs. Wait a second. I know that I have this as part of my Contoso onboarding. Either I want to always allow or allow once. For demos, I prefer to do allow once just so we can see that dialogue. But as a user, you would probably do always allow in this case. I'm just going to do allow once for now. Now it's going to call. It's going to call that API. And now it just brought it back with a bunch of different, you see here, there's a lot of ACs that needs to be repaired. It's an API we're using internally to do some of our tests. So that's why we see all of that. But we see it right now. It's really, really cool, right? It's everything is there. You are able to do that. You can also say, look at that. So now you can see maybe all these people that are assigned to. So let me just, I'm just going to copy this. I can say list all the repairs assigned to user 05 because I want to get these things. So what it's going to do here, it's going to understand it a little bit more. It's going to be able to map the intent to some parameters in my API, which is the assigned to, which is user 05 in that case. And now it's going to, my API has this capability that's described in my open API. And now it just got all the different repairs directly from that. We also now have the opportunity to see, as part of the plugin developer info, everything that happened, including that I was able to find these two functions. I selected the list repairs functions. I called it and I got a 200 OK. And now you can even see the content of it. So you can really see what is the call that was made and how it was returned to you. So as a developer, that is really cool because now you can really see how your API was called, with which parameter and what was the response that came back. Finally, we said that I'm on site and I see something. I'm not happy about something that is broken. So here I'm going to say, create a new repair called something is wrong, and assign it to Vesa. Sorry, Vesa. You're going to be the one that will need to go and fix this one. So now it's going to automatically generate that create with the body that is this one. So it's going to already do a full post to this, assign it to Vesa. Now it's going to confirm, and we're going to get the result back saying that I was able to create this, and now something's wrong. Now we're good to go. So that's what I wanted to showcase today. and kind of make it real for you, because now that is landing in your tenants as we speak. So we're really looking forward to see what you're about to build with these things. To get started, aka.ms/m365 Copilot Dev. And from there, you'll be able to get started with Copilot agents, and you will be able to get started building those using either pro-code or low-code tools. So back to you, Vesa.
Excellent. Thank you, Seb. Really, really cool. And hats off for the developer info on the plugin. So that's like a thank you. That's like brilliant. So you're able to get more details on what's happening behind the scenes. So really, really cool. Thank you, Seb, on that one. Awesome work. I'm super excited to see this getting to be available for everybody. So really, really, really cool stuff. And we'll continue. It's real. Exactly.
It's happening.
Yes. Oh my God. So, and Bob continues on this journey next Tuesday on the next steps and a bit more advanced scenarios. And we'll continue, obviously, with the demos in the future as well. Now, we will then jump on Marc. Marc has some updates for us on the SharePoint embedded. Marc, word of a warning. We do have a hard stop at 9 a.m. Because we're getting kicked out from the room, if possible. But again, we can. I can have a bad eye if needed towards the people who are trying to get in. Should be good.
Sounds good. No problem. Are you able to see my screen and hear my voice?
Yes. All good. Okay. Take it away.
Awesome. Okay. Cool. Thank you. Yeah. So I'm going to cover some of kind of the new content and samples that we've got for SharePoint Embedded, and show you some of the new material that you can use to get started. So if you haven't come across SharePoint Embedded yet, at a high level, kind of like its name implies, it's a way for you to embed SharePoint storage into your custom application. It's a headless platform as a service that offers a set of pay-as-you-go APIs available on Microsoft Graph that allow your custom application to store and manage content in an M365 tenant. It comes with a whole bunch of capabilities out of the box. It's Copilot ready. Talk a little bit about that today, but not going to do a deep dive there. It's compliant, and so content gets stored in your customer's tenant, the tenant that's running the application. And so content there is automatically compliant by default, adheres to data residency and other protections that you get through Microsoft Purview. It gets a whole bunch of core storage capabilities, core enterprise storage capabilities right out of the box when you build on top of SharePoint Embedded. And you get collaboration by default. And so you get to not only take advantage of our fully capable preview client, I think I'll be able to show you that today, but also the rich collaboration experiences that you get through Office. You can use that in your custom applications when you build them on top of SharePoint Embedded. All right. Last time I was on here, which was a little bit over a month ago, I was inviting you to attend a couple of events that we were having through the month of September, one in New York City and one in London. We had those events. They went off really well. If you weren't able to attend, though, I just wanted to invite you to access our presentations and hands-on lab material. They're available in our sample app repository. There's a big link there at the bottom of this slide at aka.ms/spe-samples. When you go there, and that's what we're going to spend a little bit of time on today, is doing stuff from our sample app repo. If you go into the Fall 24 events folder within there, you can see the presentations that we went over, as well as a couple of hands-on labs that you can use, if you want to get started with SharePoint Embedded. So hopefully you can kind of access that material. If you wanted to attend those events and you weren't able to, go through that material if you can, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We also have a couple of new samples that are available, sample applications that are available within this repository as well, and I wanted to showcase those. One of them is Power Platform. We're actually going to do a deep dive here in a few weeks. Steve P is going to do that. So I'm not going to go deep into that today. But what I will say is that we are in the midst of building a Power Platform data connector for SharePoint Embedded, so that you can use that for making flows Power Automate or Power Apps and things like that. So we'll talk more about that in a few weeks. But if that's something that you're passionate about, be sure to attend that when it takes place. And again, you can reach out in the chat if you have any questions, or you can email us at sharepointembedded@microsoft.com if you want to talk about your use case to make sure it's covered by what we're building. The thing we're going to go into today is this new sample app that we have published. It's called the SPE-TypeScript React Azure Function Sample App. I'm going to go to the next slide. It just explains what it is a little bit. There's a whole bunch of new capabilities in here that I just wanted to highlight today, and we're going to go kind of get going with that from scratch today together. It includes custom Copilot control. So this is pretty cool. Right now, it's in private preview, and so you have to be a member of our private preview program in order to take advantage of it. I'll just say that out right now. If you'd like to sign up, though, you can go to ak.ms/SPE Copilot preview. What that allows you to do is to drop that custom Copilot control into your custom application that's built on SharePoint Embedded, and you can do a whole bunch of capabilities in there. Specifically, you get all of kind of the power that folks are used to with Copilot, but you can give it a custom instruction and customize the starter prompts and things like that, customize the theme and the experience of it, the look and feel, as well as ground it on specific content. And that content can be in your SharePoint embedded containers, file storage containers, or it could come from OneDrive and SharePoint as well. The really cool thing is that this is that experience in your custom application. So let's say you've got an HR app or an app that helps folks manage projects or something like that. You can customize the experience of that custom Copilot depending on which user's using your app, what page they're on, the history and context of how they've been using your application, maybe what particular thing that they're looking at in your app. So it allows you to, with pro code, really customize and deliver a great customized Copilot experience in your application. And a few more things now, just kind of bubbling back up about this new sample app, and then we'll get hands-on. It's easy to use with GitHub code spaces. That's what I'm going to show today. If you haven't used it before, don't worry. It makes it really easy to get started with our samples. It's refactored and written in TypeScript, so it just makes it simpler to kind of understand how things work. Ultimately, it's a sample, and we want to teach you how to use different aspects of the SharePoint embedded product and platform. And so it's structured and a little bit more clean, so you can see how that exactly works. It's integrated into the SharePoint embedded Visual Studio Code extension. I'm not going to show that aspect today, but I will kind of touch on how you can use that. And then it adds a new capability. So we've got a use case in the app called receipt processing, and I'll show that today. It does a whole bunch of things that you can do with SharePoint embedded that I want to kind of show off. It integrates with Azure AI Document Intelligence to extract fields from receipts. It uses webhooks, both a webhook subscription and a Socket.io subscription for backend processing and fast front-end updates. And then it takes advantage of metadata support. So you can have custom columns on file storage containers within SharePoint Embedded. So it takes those extracted fields from the receipts and sets them as fields on those files in there. So that's a lot of stuff. I'm going to actually give you a quick tour of it. So we're going to get into the demo here. First of all, I'm just going to show you, if you want to use this with SharePoint Embedded Visual Studio Code extension, you want to run our new sample app. It's really simple. Last time I was on here, I showed you how you get started with this. I'm not going to go through that today. It's pretty straightforward. But once you're signed in and using the extension, if you right-click on your owning application, there's a few things you can do. One of them is run sample apps, and you can go to this TypeScript React Azure Functions sample. That's the new sample I'm going to show you here today. When you do that, it will actually automatically clone the GitHub repository for where our sample apps live to your local machine. And it will inject the configuration values needed to run the app. And all you have to do is hit run, and you are up and running with that sample application on your local developer machine. I'm going to show you a different approach today. So this is our sample app repo. So when you go to aka.ms/spe-samples, this is what you're looking at. Here's the new folder with Fall 24 events. That's where the presentations and labs are from the events that we did last month. And then samples is where we've got a handful of samples, including this new one that I'm going to show you. Today, what I'm going to do, though, is actually fork this repository. I'm going to create a fork of it in my personal GitHub account. That should, create effectively another repository that's forked off of that main one. And then what I'm going to do, so this is my own kind of personal, I can here, create PRs, and this is all these samples are open source. So very much encouraged if you want to, create a PR, fork and create your own PR and you see a way to improve, then please, by all means, do that. What I did there, though, I did that really quickly. Let me just quickly show that. I went to code, and in code spaces, I created a new code space. So again, if you haven't used code spaces before, I recommend you do that. You can, of course, set up a couple of free ones depending on what GitHub your account you're using. And eventually, if you have too many code spaces, you do have to pay for it. It's nothing to do with SharePoint Embedded. It's a GitHub capability. But I do recommend giving those a shot if you haven't tried them out before. So this is that same repository we're looking at in a GitHub code space. It's effectively a Docker container that's running here. And so the cool thing about that, though, is like if I don't have a very good developer machine or I'm on the go, I can create a code space and it will automatically, get a machine that's up and running and ready to go for this particular sample app. So it's pretty powerful stuff. I'm going to open this up, and this is the new sample that we're talking about, SPE TypeScript React Azure function. So I will open that up. Now, to get this going, all I need to do is paste a couple of configuration files here. I already have those ready to go. They can automatically get generated from that Visual Studio Code extension when you run it locally. They're pretty self-explanatory. I just put these configuration files in here. There's two. Effectively, this sample runs a back-end API service on Azure Functions and a front client-side application written in React and TypeScript. So I need two configuration files. One of them is for the back end, so I'm going to just drop that in there. And yes, I want to move that in there, and then I'm going to drop in the client side into the React client. And there's templates for what these files look like if you want to do this yourself as well. I'm going to actually now open up the local environment. There's no secrets in here, just to give you a sense of what this looks like. And the server side has some secrets in there, so I'm not going to open that up. But it's effectively, my tenant information, the Azure Entra app ID that I'm going to be using, the container type ID, which is a SharePoint embedded concept that identifies which containers belong to my application, and then the sample app URL. So what I need to do is actually update the sample app URL, because when you run an app on code spaces, you get a publicly accessible URL that you can access on it. So first of all, I'm going to kick off running. Sorry, it's just asking if I want to allow access to the clipboard. I'm going to open up an integrated terminal at the root of this sample app, and I'm going to go to ports here, and you can see, so the name of my code space is Upgraded Waffle. GitHub assigns a funny name when you do that. I'm going to there's two ports that are automatically opened, 7072, so this is the back end, and 8080 is the front end. I'm going to make those both public so that I can actually access this app running in a browser. And I'm going to copy the API one. So I'll copy the local address and I'll paste that in here so that when I run the app, it's actually going to talk to the correct backend set of APIs. I'll save that file. Now in my terminal, I can just go npm start, run start, and this is going to run both the client and the server apps. It takes a few minutes because it needs to install all of the npm libraries for both the client and the server, but it's actually, I have a pretty good laptop. What I'll say is when I do this locally, it runs decently fast. When I do it in a GitHub code space, it seems to be on a very powerful machine, more powerful than my laptop, and it runs seems to run much quicker. The other cool thing is if I look in this dev container, like I mentioned, these apps are kind of makes it simple to run with GitHub code spaces, our sample apps. It has this container. It's using an image here that is just a universal dev container, and also sets it up with Azure Functions core tools so that like I didn't have to do anything special here. Like I would have had to, install a bunch of stuff on my local machine. I have this image ready to go so that I can actually just run this app. Okay, so if we look, it looks like it's starting the front-end development server. I'm just I think I already made my ports public. So So with these ports public, I'm going to now copy the front end URL. So that's the React client. I will copy the local address of that. And there's one more thing that I need to do. In order to run this, I need to actually go to my Azure Entra app configuration. So this is the app that I'm running the front end in, and I have to add a redirect URI under the single page application configuration because I just got this brand new URL. We just made this code space together. So I have to add that URL here, and I will press enter and save that. Okay, and so now I have this single page app redirect URL that I can use. Now I can actually like log into my sample. So I should be able to, if I've done everything correctly, which, you know, the demo gods don't always work, navigate to this URL and we should see this new sample that we just built together. This is just GitHub Codespace's warning to let you know that I'm accessing an application that's hosted on GitHub Codespace. It's not meant for production use. We're just playing with the sample here. So I will sign in. And if everything worked, fingers crossed, I have signed in with my admin account. I already granted consent, so I'm going to skip that. And now hopefully I will navigate to the containers page. It's a little slow. I'm doing some silly things. You can see here I've got a few file storage containers that are available. I'm going to click on this receipt processing container. Okay, so this container is empty. What I'm actually going to do now is I mentioned that we have this receipt processing demo that's available. What that is it automatically will integrate with Azure AI Document Intelligence to extract receipt fields from the files that I put on there and set them as metadata on this container. So I'm going to paste some receipts in here and I'm going to upload them. Okay, so it just really quickly uploaded them, and I'll show you what our preview client looks like. And so I can open up, this is literally my own personal receipts. So I paid for parking at the Port of Seattle when I was flying somewhere. And that's just a receipt. You can see I have another receipt here. I'm not sure what this one is. The Home Depot receipt looks like I bought some stuff. That one's a PDF. Again, all of that's rendering in our very capable preview client that you can take advantage of in your own custom applications. Now, I just pressed this button to enable receipt processing. What that did is it basically added a schema to this particular file storage container and allows me to set metadata on the files that are in this container. And also what it did is it set up a webhook. So anytime I add new files in this container, it will automatically call my backend API to process those files with Azure Document Intelligence to extract fields from those. And then it sets the metadata on those files using that schema I defined in my file storage container. Now, you're seeing the UX. You're seeing this UI update automatically in the background. That is because I'm using a Socket.io subscription on this file storage container. So my front-end client has a Socket.io subscription that's available through the Graph APIs on this file storage container that gets notified when anything changes on this file storage container. So files are updated or metadata set like you can see here. It is going to automatically update the experience that you see here. And so we looked at that airport parking receipt. You can see the expense here. It was $154 US, and it extracted the merchant and the total and let me know that it's processed. It was, from the Port of Seattle, it was $154. So pretty cool stuff. You can take a look at the source code. The one thing I'll say is that the integration with Azure AI Document Intelligence, it is a pro code solution. So the source does it itself. It is very straightforward to do using the libraries that are available to you. It's a couple lines of code and you can do the same field extraction using the built receipt model. I didn't show it today, but what you have also, if you are part of the private preview program, you can use the automatic, this is a different running instance of it, but you can take advantage of the custom Copilot that we have here to be able to list and summarize files, customize experiences, and ask questions about your content in SharePoint Embedded using the power of Copilot. So 8:59. I think I only have a few seconds left. We can leave it there. Thank you very much for the time today. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, you can put them on the chat or reach out to SharePointEmbedded@Microsoft.com. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. Really, really cool solutions, and great to see that integration with GitHub because it makes it so easy to run them. So awesome stuff for the whole team. Really, really cool. And looking forward the next demos, which we have already scheduled on this as well. Now, quickly closing up for today, just a quick teaser for next week. We have T.S. Manoy Kumar talking about AI 0-1, building our own rack-based semantic search using API to run prompts. That's on next Tuesday. And then followed up with Bob Sherman securing API plugins for Microsoft 365 Copilot with Entra ID. Super important thing as well to be able to hit secured APIs within the scenarios, which Seb was covering today. And a lot of other cool demos coming up later on the series. Now, in the meanwhile, please take advantage of our Discord server. We are having already 2,300 members there for having a discussion. Great new option to have a discussion with other people with community. We are always looking for feedback also on what would you like to see within the community goals, what works, what doesn't work. Super important for us to be able to show the value of this course for our leadership. Now, this call will be the recording of this call will be available in the YouTube channel within 24 hours. Please subscribe, follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, easiest way to follow up on when the assets are available, and all the calls at AKMS community calls. But that's it for today, right on time and letting next people in the room. Thank you everybody for joining. Cheers, bye-bye.